Hey guys, so today's Tuesday video is not going to be a vlog. The reason being, I was away this past week. And I was filming some stuff, but you're going to see that in the Friday video. So at the time I'm filming this, it's actually before I've left. But by the time you're watching this, it's the day I came back home. So I'm just pre-filming a little bit of stuff so there's something to go up while I'm away. I don't always do that, but I just felt like doing it this time. And I was trying to think of what I could do for a Tuesday video, and I figured a Q&A would be something that's relatively quick to film and edit. I'm gonna be a little lazy with the edit because I'm filming this the very last day before I leave. I'm not gonna have all the questions pop up visually on screen, that kind of thing. I just need to make this as quick and easy for myself as possible. I did, however, print off all the questions. I probably should have switched to light mode before screenshotting these. Whatever. It's a laser printer, who cares about the ink? Okay. So I asked for questions on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube, and I asked for them to be shop update related. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the most recent shop update I just did. It could be about shop questions in general, but that's the theme for this Q&A. And I picked ones that hopefully I haven't answered too many times. It's tough because when I do live streams, they basically function as Q&As, and so I answer a lot of questions real time. But I tried to pick some that are not as frequently asked. And I also love specific questions, although the first two are more commonly asked, but I thought we could get those out of the way at the start. So Natasha M asks, is your business an LLC? And then there's more questions after that, but I'll answer that first. It's not an LLC because LLCs don't exist in Canada. You're either claiming your business income with your personal tax return if you're a sole proprietorship, or you incorporate and you file a corporate tax return. So my business is incorporated and it's been so since 2019. How do you set up salaries for you and Christian and create employee profiles? So I don't have employee profiles. I had to Google what that was. It's just like a company's record of who the employees are, what their skills are, their background, whatever. I feel like that's not necessary for us because there's just two of us and my employee is my husband, so I don't think we need profiles. But we do officially take salaries from the company. And I do that through my accountant. They do all the stuff and they send me the little pay stub information at the end of each month. And then I transfer the money from the business bank account to our personal bank account using online banking. But the accountant is handling the paperwork side of it. And continued on, what is the benefit of being an LLC or bigger business over a sole proprietorship, and how do you know which is best for you, especially in relation of how you do business internationally? I don't have my business set up internationally. I operate solely out of Canada, so the international thing doesn't really apply, and I don't know how that affects international stuff. I would assume you have to register in whatever country you're setting up shop in, but that doesn't apply to me. But the benefits of being incorporated versus the sole proprietorship would be, first of all, limited liability. That's how LLC gets its name, even though here it's not an LLC. But for example, if someone sues the company, it's the company's assets that are at risk, not my personal assets. I won't lose my house, my car, my personal investments. All that stuff is protected. And then the second benefit is a lower corporate income tax rate. Really, it's a tax deferral because you pay less in tax now, but then when you close your business and take all that money personally, you will have to pay tax on it. But the personal tax rate can be over 30%, whereas the business tax rate for me is about 11%. So that's big savings on taxes. And to answer how I knew which was best for me was I went to an accountant and just brought my paperwork, my spreadsheets, being like, this is what I do, this is how much I'm bringing in, is it worth it for me to incorporate? And he said it definitely was. Not only from the legal standpoint, but from the money saving standpoint. But like I said, it's just a deferral, but it gives you more spending money now, plus then you can decide what you're doing with the money later. Like my accountant said, I could use my business as a retirement vehicle, so it's basically like retirement savings, and someday I will take income out of the business through the form of dividends, because apparently dividends are taxed at a lower tax rate than a salary, and so that would help me save a little bit more tax money when I do close the business. I could be taking dividends now, but I only take a salary. I don't fully understand dividends, I'm gonna be honest, but that's what I do know. Okay, next question. This is also asked all the time, and when I prompted people for questions for this Q&A, it was brought up a lot, so I was like, okay, I should answer it even though I answer it all the time. But is it ever hard having your husband as an employee? This was asked by Danny Padilla. For us, it's not hard. For certain couples, I assume it would be. It depends on your relationship with your spouse. Like if you're people who are bickering and arguing, just in your day-to-day life, you're probably not going to do too well working together. But we're both pretty laid back and chill people, and we also don't work together all day. He's like in the embroidery room, I'm out here. We're kind of doing our own things, and our paths cross occasionally throughout the day, but it's really not much. And he worked from home before he started working for me, because since COVID, his office job was moved to work from home. And so we had already been together long term before he started working for me. So we knew we did okay in each other's presence, both being home all day. So it may not be for everyone, but for us, it's easy. And I would rather have him as an employee than bringing a random person into the house. Plus, the money I pay him for his salary goes into my bank account because we have a joint bank account. I'm paying my employee, but I'm also paying myself. Okay, Patrick Conte asks, do you use any special methods to calculate time spent working? Now that you and your husband work together on an almost daily basis, how do you track working hours? We don't track hours at all. We're both salaried, like a yearly salary, and so there's no clocking in, clocking out, hour tracking required. It's just like how much you get paid each month is your yearly salary divided by 12. And Christian mostly has set hours. At least when he's doing embroidery stuff, he's usually in there from 10 to 5. And then my hours are very irregular. But it's just like throughout the day, I spend most of my day doing something. And I rarely spend my weekends doing nothing. So his hours are more regular than mine. Irina Peace says, congratulations on the shop update. I'm curious on how you set your inventory targets. For example, how do you decide that you want X amount of blanks for embroidery? Edited to add another question, how do you handle calculating shipping? Any advice for someone that wants to run an online store regarding international delivery? So the inventory, a lot of it's based off previous shop updates. Like, for example, washi tape, I always order 500 of a new design. And then if it's really popular, I can order more, but it's kind of like a set amount for that type of item. In the past, I was ordering 1,000 of everything, and that turned out to be a mistake because it was one of those things where things are selling out too fast. I start ordering more, but then I have too much inventory. So I've reduced how much I order. And with my enamel pins, I've been ordering 750 of each. Again, order more if I need more. Luckily for those, my profit margin is still good if I do order lower quantity. Things like the notepads, I really do have to order a good chunk of them at once, otherwise the price skyrockets. But yeah, it's mostly just based off previous shop updates. I started small, slowly started increasing until I increased too much and went back down. And you really don't know what design is going to be the most popular because sometimes I think something's going to be popular, I order a lot of it, and then turns out something else is more popular. So I try to not order extras now of things I think will be popular. With one exception, during this shop update, I ordered more of the Halloween cat sticker and the floral bouquet sticker compared to the other stickers, and I feel like they all sold pretty evenly for the Halloween themed ones and like floral cats ones. So I probably didn't need to order more of those, but it worked out because the ones I didn't have a lot of stock of sold out and I had to restock. So it worked out in my favor this time, but I could have been stuck with extra inventory if I wasn't careful. But at the same time, stickers are so inexpensive, it's not that much risk to order more. While we're on this topic, I'm going to skip ahead to a different question that's kind of related. Jenna Dow asked, do you think you would ever do surveys like here on Instagram to gauge interest in product? I kind of have done that, but here's the problem, is the people who participate in the surveys are not all the same people who are going to actually buy from you. And so people will say they prefer one thing, but then that actually ends up not being true. Like I've done some surveys when I first started doing the clothing about like, do you like this design versus this design? And do you like this color versus this color? And for example, for a strawberry, the sandstone and the pink had a very even split. It was pretty close, like 45 to 55%, I think was the vote split. And so I ordered close to the same quantities of blanks for both, but still a bit more pink. But then the pink ended up selling way better than the sandstone. And then I was left with a bunch of sandstone blanks. So just because the poll says one thing does not mean that's what's actually going to come through your shop. Okay, now back to the rest of Irina's questions. How do you handle calculating shipping? It gets automatically calculated at checkout. The rates are drawn directly from my Canada Post account. And so the customer is being charged what I pay. For the most part, the weight at checkout is an estimate because it's based off size of box and weight, but weight is the biggest factor. And so Every time I add a product to a listing, the product weight is there, and then in Shopify I can set a default box weight, and that's where the estimation comes in, because obviously I have a wide variety of box sizes and bigger boxes are going to weigh more. So I use one of my smaller boxes as the default calculation. It's not the smallest, but it's one of the smaller ones. I probably could bump that up a little bit now that my average box size has gone up, but that's why it's just an estimate on the customer side and may not be exactly what I end up paying, but for the most part, it's pretty close. And any advice for someone that wants to run an online shop regarding international delivery? So there was a big scare a couple years ago with shipments going international needing extra paperwork, especially if they're going to the UK or something. I think this was all Brexit related, but it was this big issue that turned out to be mostly a non-issue. I think there's still a lot of stores that are not selling internationally because of that, but I have not run into any roadblocks. I don't know how people do this, but there's a way you can have it in your shop so that things like VAT are added at checkout. I do not know how to do that. It's probably some third-party app somehow that would have to synchronize with my Canada Post account. I don't even know, but my workaround is that VAT is just not charged at checkout. People pay customs upon delivery. Like, I just buy my international labels from Canada Post. They've got a little customs declaration on them. I send it off, and then it's out of my hands, and they've all been delivered. It's been fine. It just means that it could get slowed down in customs a little bit, but I feel like a lot of my stuff still moves pretty quickly internationally, so I don't think it's really a problem. Charity C Gaming asks, with all the experience you learned, would you host a workshop teaching people about creating a small business, like at colleges and stuff? Definitely no. Hard no. Especially hard no for in-person, but also a no for online. Like, I'm just not the teacher type. I don't mind sharing knowledge in situations like this, Q&As, live streams, but I don't want to like create courses or take the time out of my day to go teach people, because that's like a whole other job, consulting and teaching. I've got enough on my plate, and I also am just not interested in teaching. The Night Wren asks, how much does it impact in terms of profit having unexpected B grades, such as with the magnets or the sticky notes in a previous update? I know for some products it's expected with the process, such as sketchbooks, but does it still end up being a worthwhile investment when the quality isn't as expected and sale price is impacted? As a side note, I love the magnets though. They now have a spot of honor on my fridge. So yeah, with B grades, I usually just take the financial hit, because even the B grade selling price is enough that I make a profit back on that item. Except like the sweatshirts. I sell those B grade ones at a loss or at break even price. So that's a different story. But for other products, it's like, okay, I sell a B grade print. I'm still profiting off that. I'm just not profiting as much. And I think that's just a part of it. You're always going to get some messed up inventory. When it's a large ratio, that's when it's a problem, and you can consider contacting your manufacturer. I don't always do that. For the sticky notes, like you mentioned, I did. I got a partial refund from Vistaprint, so my profits were not impacted by having a bunch of B grades because of the partial refund. But things like the sketchbooks, I just take a hit on it. We do have an unprecedented level of B grades with the Halloween cats, and I expected that, because it is more detailed embroidery, but a lot of the B grades are not even embroidery related. It's like dots of glue showing through the fabric, or like a big section of glue, and I'm like, what is this? Like, why? Maybe because it's a more complicated design, it was harder for them to glue it down because it's like smaller sections of glue, maybe. So I think it's still related to it being a more complicated design, but most of the B grades are not actual embroidery mistakes. Some are. And this is a high enough ratio that I probably could reach out, but I think I'm just not going to, because I think I'm just learning my lesson to do a more simple design in the future, not go as ambitious as the Halloween cats one for a sketchbook cover. And then for Luna Moth, it's about my usual B grade ratio, so that's fine. So I think it is definitely a design issue. So in that case, I'm just going to take the loss. Again, I'm still profiting off of the B grade books. I'm just not making as much of a profit. And one of the reasons why I chose this question is to bring up the tote bags, because that is an example of one where I had a whole bunch of problems with the product, and I don't even know if I made a profit on those at all. There were just so many bags that were sewn defectively or had some kind of marking on them that would not come off, and so there were so many bags I just did not press. Oh, and a lot of them were B grades because the zippers wouldn't work properly. That was a big issue. And like, if the main zipper doesn't work, I'm not going to even sell it as a B grade. And so we have so many blanks that were just unusable. And I had a whole bunch of DTF transfers that I had printed to go on those blanks that were left unused. And I'm thinking of selling some of those transfers, but like the totes, that was a loss. And it was a tricky situation because like the place I got them from, the green ones, for example, they were the worst. And when I ordered them, I thought they were going to be the same as the red totes. But then they contacted me being like, actually, we only have green ones that are a different brand and we can't guarantee the same quality. And I was like, send them anyway. I regret that. I should not have taken them because they were just so, so bad. And I didn't want to reach out to be like, these are atrocious, when they had warned me that they weren't necessarily going to be good. But at the same time, I feel like they shouldn't have shipped out such a bad product. Just so many stitching errors and lots of loose threads to cut off, which was fine. But like a lot of them, even after cleaning up all the threads, it still looked like crap. And I'm like, oh God. So the totes are an example of a time when there were so many B grades, it did affect me. But I'm confident I at least made the money back I spent on that. So I've made back the investment. That's good. I did not take a loss. I just didn't make any money off of it. I thought I didn't have enough questions. I'm like halfway through the first page. Okay, this is going to take me a long time to edit. I have to edit it tonight, in addition to editing my Friday vlog. And I still have to live stream today. And I have to pack for my week away. Okay. CR1234-1 asks, what's more profitable, what you sell in store or the YouTube videos you make about your store? Definitely the store by far. I still make good money on YouTube, but not like it was once back in the day. But the store is making more than I think I've ever made off my YouTube channel. Like if you evened out my store income, like spread it over 12 months and looked at the per month income, I think it's more than what I was making off of YouTube back in the day. And it's nice having my fate more in my hands. Like I'm still reliant on social media for promoting the store, but it's like, you know, I'm not reliant on my video staying monetized for me to be able to pay the bills, you know. It feels more, my fate feels more in my hands and my income feels more controlled. But anyway, yeah, the store makes more money than YouTube. Lily Eve asks, do you do any SEO? Is YouTube how you get the majority of your shop sales? No, I don't really do any SEO stuff. Like I've got some tags on things, like products in my store have tags, but I don't do other SEO specific things. I just haven't really felt the need to because people aren't finding me from Google. And is YouTube how I get the majority of my shop sales? Yes, definitely. Because I'm vlogging my day-to-day life, just what I'm doing. But by doing so, I'm also promoting the shop. So the people who watch my vlogs are my biggest customer base. And that reminds me of another question that's related. So I'm going to skip ahead to Lainey's question, or Lane. It's Lane with an E at the end. Lane? I'm so curious as to the breakdown of where your customers come from for updates like these. Like what % was YouTube, Google searches, Instagram, etc. So this might be the one time I actually overlay some stuff on the screen. There's sessions by traffic source. So my biggest traffic source is direct. So people going to BayleeJ.com. And that makes sense because before my shop goes live, I can see there's like 500 people waiting. These numbers are specific to the shop update, by the way. And I thought maybe my email marketing was also responsible for a big chunk, but it's not really here. Like it shows direct, then search, social, unknown. I'm assuming search is people go to Google and type BayleeJ and it comes up. Like that's how they're finding me, through search, but not from like cute stationery, you know? And then there's socials and unknown, but then there's sessions by social source. So the ones that do come from social, where are they coming from? The vast majority, YouTube. Interestingly, Facebook is number 2. I don't even post to Facebook anymore, but maybe it's because my Instagram reels are showing up on Facebook, so that might be why. But Facebook is even above Instagram, which is crazy. And then Pinterest. Someone must have my products linked on Pinterest. I've been thinking I should make a Pinterest account just to post my cute products and like link to my store. Maybe someday. Then there's sales by traffic source. So actual sales coming in, not just people on the website. And the vast majority is direct. And this is where it gets confusing because it goes search, social, unknown, and then it says email, $117 US. There's no way my email campaign only generated $117 in sales. Like I don't think it's tracking the mailing app I use. I feel like this email is something else because sometimes Shopify sends out their shop emails and it has some recommended products there. So maybe my products were recommended and someone purchased, but there's no way that's the stat from my email marketing. Like maybe to see that I actually have to go to my mailing app and see how many clicks I got. But I wouldn't know how many of those clicks resulted in sales, would I? Well, maybe. Actually, maybe it does show that. I don't know. But these are the numbers I pulled from Shopify anyway. Okay, back to the front page. Any file organization tips for all the different variants of a collection, but then also have a manufacturer-ready files. It makes my brain hurt and my computer memory storage cry. So I don't have it sorted by collection. I have it sorted by product type. So there's a folder for enamel pins, a folder for prints, a folder for embroidery designs, a folder for washi, and that's how I organize it. And so if you go into the enamel pin folder, then you'll see subfolders. That's like Luna Moth, Halloween Cats, because then you open up one of those, it's got the Photoshop file of me making the pin, and it's got a Photoshop file for the mock-up that I send. It's got maybe just like a PNG of the pin itself solo, and it's also got the manufacturer files in there. So usually the manufacturer ones are named with the manufacturer name at the end of it, or I have Baylee J at the front. It'll be like Baylee J _ Halloween Cats enamel pin, something like that. And so I know like, oh, it says Baylee J on it. That means it's for the manufacturer, just so they know that was my file. But then for things like prints, I've done multiple runs of prints from different manufacturers over the years. So it might be like the meeting print 5x7 _ Vistaprint or _ Mixum _ Art Ink print. It'll have the manufacturer name on there, so I know that that's the file that was prepared for that manufacturer. Plus another tell for it being the manufacturer file is if it's a PDF, because all the prints I save off as PDFs. I had a print manufacturer request that once, and then I've since learned that that's the best way to do it, because if you send like a JPEG or something, it can have different color profiles and it'll look weird, whereas a PDF is more consistent colors. So if I have a PDF file for a notepad or planner pad, I'm like, okay, that's the file for print, because I don't save the PDFs for myself. I have PSDs, but the PDF file is for the manufacturer. And so far that's been enough organization. At some point I might have to create a subfolder for old designs and move them in there. But like right now, if you open the notepad folder, it's got all the notepads I've ever done, but it's really not that many, so it's fine. It does take up a lot of storage, but that's just kind of how it's got to be if you want to have everything saved. Oh, and that was asked by JC Silver. I don't think I said the name. JC Silver. And then Sailor Moon fan asks, I'll just ask what everyone wants to know, but is too polite to ask, lol. How much revenue did you make? How much profit did you make? What were the total expenses? How much on average does a shop update make? And how much of an increase in sales and revenue did this one make? So I don't have numbers for all of this, but I have some numbers. So the total amount I made from this shop update, like money that came in, gross revenue before any expenses are factored in, was $137,669 US dollars and 70 cents. So converted to Canadian dollars, that's 185,801. So that's a lot. I don't have numbers for all my other shop updates because I'm not like a big stats person for the shop updates. I'm not like, how much money exactly did this one make compared to the last one? I don't typically track that. So I don't have all the numbers to compare, but this is definitely the biggest. I know for my Witch Hat update, which was the highest in terms of sales, I made 100K USD throughout the entire first month it was open. And for this one, I hit 100K on day one. But I don't know if the Witch Hat was second highest in terms of revenue or not. Because now that I sell apparel, that really has boosted my numbers, but it also is my item with the biggest expense. So while I'm pulling in more money now because of the apparel, I'm also spending a lot more money now. Still, overall profits are up, but that's just one thing to consider. I also have not added up how much I spent on this shop update specifically. It's hard to calculate what the profit is for the shop update if you factor in the expenses of the Halloween items, because obviously I didn't sell all the Halloween items. I have a ton of sketchbooks left and other stuff. Like lots did sell out, but there's still a lot left. And also I'm selling a lot of products that are from prior shop updates. That's older product that's been sitting on the shelf. So if I looked at just what I spent on the Halloween collection versus what I made, that's not accurate. But I feel like a very rough estimate would be about 50% profit, maybe a little less, because 20% of the numbers I gave you was spent on shipping. And then most of my products have a profit margin that's above 50%, but a bulk of the money I made is from the apparel where the profit margin is 50%. So I just like to think in my head my profit margin overall is about 50%, but I don't actually know the exact number. It would depend on what types of items sold. So if you take those numbers I gave you, divide it by 2, that's probably a rough estimate. That's looking purely at like how much did the products cost me versus how much I spent. There's a lot of other expenses not factored into that. Although I don't really count labor costs because it's just me and Christian. And like I said, we have a joint bank account. So it's like the money's still coming to us. But there's other costs associated with running a business that are not factored into that 50% estimate. Dangerous Spoons asks, do you think it's better to do a shop update or just upload stuff ASAP? I'm curious as I upload stuff when I make a new product, but I'm wondering if I should do a shop update. Thank you, you're my inspiration. I think it is beneficial to do releases where you're releasing multiple products at once because people are interested in getting your new stuff, but they don't want to have to buy each item individually and pay the shipping individually for every single thing. So if they can buy a lot at once, then they're more likely to make a purchase. So I feel like it is good to wait till you have a handful of items and then drop them all at once. Plus then you can kind of hype it up in advance. Because like I see some people online who decide last minute to drop a shop update and they've got maybe like 2 or 3 new things, but it's very impromptu. They're like, oh, maybe I'll do it 2 days from now. But then it's like, well, where's the hype build up and like, where's the rest of the products? I feel like it's better to wait and drop more at once as a collection, even if it's not matching stuff. But, you know, it also depends on what kind of a store you're running. I feel like for mine, the bigger drops make sense, whereas maybe if it's like handmade stuff that takes a while, maybe you do just want to upload them as they're available. I don't know. It would depend on exactly what you make and how you make it. But I feel like if you're doing stuff similar to what I do, it is a good idea to wait till you have a handful of items and then release them all at once. Okay, page 2. We've made it to page 2. My stream starts in 45 minutes. Okay, let's go. Green-Eyed Tiger says, do you think it paid off to make a less in-your-face holiday collection, in this case Halloween, and would you consider doing that more for future holiday collections, Christmas, etc.? So they're referring to the fact that, like, yes, I have some Halloween stuff, but it's not overly Halloween-y necessarily, but then I also had the Floral Cats collection, which was not Halloween-y, it was just cats and flowers. I think it did pay off, because not everyone's into Halloween, and it just gave an extra option for other people. It ended up being kind of a double collection, so it was a lot of work and a lot of product to buy, but I do feel like that paid off nicely. Instead of dropping 1 new planner pad, 1 new notepad, it was 2 notepads, 2 planner pads. I had more stickers dropped than usual, more washi designs than usual, so it was a lot. But I think for a seasonal thing like this, it did pay off. That doesn't mean I'm going to do that all the time. I do think something like Christmas could benefit from that. Like some stuff is maybe more winter themed, whereas some stuff is Christmassy. I think that could be good. Or something just kind of adjacent color scheme. It doesn't have to even be wintry, or like a dark blue starry night sky theme could work in winter time, even if it's not explicitly winter. Yeah, I think that is a good idea. I don't plan to do Christmassy stuff this year, but we'll see for next year. Scally Studios asks, you've mentioned many times you don't want your business to grow beyond what it is now. What would be your plan of action if it did? So I'm assuming this means like, what if I keep getting more sales than I can handle? And this is very interesting to me. I feel like, first of all, I would just have to limit how much product I have available. Like, don't buy more than what I can pack. But all at the same time, there's like a bunch of older product on the shelf, so I could, in theory, get way more orders than I can handle. One thing I would possibly have to do is close the shop after a certain number of orders, which I kind of did this time. But at the time I closed it, sales were just trickling in, so I didn't really have to do that. I did that because I was going away. I was going out of town, by the way. Because I needed all the orders packed by Friday because we were leaving on Tuesday and Monday was a holiday. So that's why I had to close the shop, because I wouldn't be able to pack anything else beyond Friday. But anyway, what was the question? Oh yeah, so yeah, I could try to limit how much I order. Like, don't start ordering more to accommodate higher demand. Possibly cut off orders at a certain number, which is kind of what I used to do in my earlier shop days. I would open the shop for 1 week and that's it, and then I would close it. So it could be something like that where it closes temporarily till we're caught up and then I reopen. And was there a third thing? Oh yes, what I could also do is try to do more frequent shop updates throughout the year that are maybe smaller updates. Because right now I aim for about 4 shop updates a year, but I guess if my shop was really poppin', I could do maybe instead of every 3 months, do every 2 months, and it's just smaller collection. That would be a lot of work though. It's like very back to back, boom, 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 jumping from one drop to another, but that could be something I try to do if for some reason I was getting too many sales during less frequent shop updates. And this next question I put right after because it's kind of related. Corey Thesaurus says, what did you take away from this update? Less items, but more of each thing? No, that's exactly what I've been moving away from. I'm trying to do more products, but less of each product. That way there's more variety for people to buy from, possibly larger order sizes because there's larger selection to choose from, but also because I fell into that problem of ordering too much in the past. So now I'm trying to order less, but more designs. Like this shop update was just kind of an anomaly. That's not going to be my new norm, I think. I'm assuming. I think it's because it's a combination of Halloween stuff plus the Kiki and Midna that people really like. So I think that's why it was so big. Okay, this one I kind of also answered. The next one's from Aroma Tissue. Compared to other shop updates, did you notice any issue with such a wide variety of products? Do you prefer smaller launches for the shop throughout the year or large ones like this for the future? I think doing more than 4 a year would be very tough. So my plan is to stick with 4 a year, but maybe even out the size a little bit. So instead of 4 shop updates that are all different sizes, do 4 that are more evenly sized maybe. It has to be partially played by ear, but I think that would be neat, is instead of going like regular size small then big, just go like normal or like big. Big in terms of number of products, not necessarily inventory counts for each product, you know what I mean? Like I still have large collections, but order like 300 to 500 of each product. Sierra T Designs asks, I was wondering if you could answer when you think it's worth going to manufactured products rather than made in-house. So I feel like the biggest issue is going to be time, and your second biggest issue is going to be space. We don't have space to add extra machinery and stuff. I've been offered like laser wood cutters, laser engravers, all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, I don't really have an interest in doing those, but also I don't have the space for that. I've even looked into DTF printers. I'm like, ooh, what's that like? And then I realized they're too high maintenance and I do not want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. They're huge. They take up space, and who's gonna run these machines? Like Christian's already doing the embroidery. I've got a lot of stuff on my plate doing other things. Like sure, there might be some weeks where I have less to do and maybe I could make some product, but like I'm not gonna spend all my time making the product when I need to be doing other things. So that's why I outsource almost everything. For me, the money's not even a factor when determining that because we simply do not have the time. It doesn't matter which option would be more affordable to me because I don't have the time to do it. But if you're just starting out, money would be a very big factor. So if you have the time and the space to manufacture stuff yourself and the desire to do so, then I say go for it if it makes sense. Like do some number crunching, see if it's worth it for you. Because a lot of people start out that way. Even me, I used to make my own sticker sheets and I used to like press buttons and make little button packs. But now I outsource the stickers because I don't have time to make them myself. Plus the ones from the manufacturer are better quality than what I was making. So as a specific answer to how to know when to switch is the time issue. If you're running out of time and you don't want to hire people to do it for you, then you're going to have to hire outside people to do it for you. Nata Lala asks, which product that were new for this update do you see yourself doing again? I would love to do more notebooks, and I would love to do more wooden magnets, but done differently. I want the UV printing on wood, not whatever they gave me this time. So I would tweak it, but I would love to do more magnets and the notebooks. And I think that was all that was new. Well, I guess zips are technically new and pocket tees are technically new, but that falls under the apparel thing. I would like to do more zips and I would like to do more pocket tees. So basically everything that was new could come back. With new designs is what I mean, not as a restock necessarily. Hat with Goggles asks, will you consider doing more seasonal Kiki and Midna merch in the future, or was this update more because they naturally give off the fall Halloween vibe? more Kiki and Midna is definitely a possibility. I'm obviously going to take a break from that because I just did Kiki Midna, but they could definitely come back. It could be like the Bun Buns where it's a recurring character, you know. They were in the shop update though because they were Halloweeny, because I sat down not to do a Kiki Midna collection. I sat down to do a Halloween collection in January when I was designing the sketchbook cover. I was like, okay, what am I doing? And I'm like researching and figuring out my color palette and then figuring out what critters are going to be part of this. And I really wanted a cat. And I'm like, well, of course Halloween has to be Black Cat, but then it's basically Kiki without Midna. We need Midna. So then it became also a Kiki Midna update. So it was first and foremost Halloween, and then I'm like, well, they work, so let's add them in there. And then that developed into the Floral Cats designs, because I was like, oh, we need some non-Halloweeny ones too, and the rest is history. Alvaro Villa Art asks, how much does Kiki and Midna make in residuals? They don't get shit. No. I mean, they get their usual treats and pets and cuddles. I mean, I guess they got an advance. They actually received an advance earlier in the year. They got a catio. That was their payment. They actually have 3 questions here, and I liked all 3, so I'm going to do all 3. Which items do you see keeping long term versus which ones will go away once there's no more stock? So in terms of the Halloween Cats update, I feel like the enamel pin I would like to keep long term because it's a nice basic Kiki Midna thing. It's not necessarily Halloweeny. I do not plan to restock the Halloween notepad and planner pad. Like, maybe the notepad could make a comeback for next year, but again, that's an item I have to order a lot of when I do order it. Like, I'm not really willing to order fewer than 500 notepads. Since they are Halloweeny, I don't want to order more for this year. So as of right now, they're not sold out, but they're very close to being sold out, I think. And at the time I reordered Floral Cats, because those did sell out, there were still a decent amount of Halloween ones left, but now the Halloween ones have dwindled in stock, so I'm like, oh, well, once they're gone, I think they're gone, because it's going to be too close to Halloween if I get a restock, and I'm just going to have too many. Like, that's the tricky thing with a seasonal item, is I don't necessarily want to order more, because at least with Floral Cats, if they don't all sell before Halloween, who cares? It's not a Halloweeny design. But for the things that are Halloween specific themed, I'm less likely to restock those. But the Floral Cats magnets are not coming back just because I would like to do them differently, and I just want to move on to new designs. I don't think I could sell another 500 of those magnets. But there could still be some Kiki Midna magnets in the future, some different ones. I do have Halloween Cats notebooks coming, but this next restock, once they're gone, I'm probably not going to order more of those. I'm just going to move on to new designs. The only times I restock items are if there's something that sells super fast, or if it's something that just sells consistently well long term. Like the Why Baby Why stuff sells pretty well. Like the Meeting, I keep restocking that print because it does well. I've kept a lot of the video game designs long term. Yeah, so some things are kind of more long term designs, but most of them are not. And their last question is, what are your thoughts on shop updates with the huge collection launch versus not collection specific, aka many new items but not really a themed collection? So that's kind of what my summer update was, although it wasn't a very big launch, but it was not a themed collection. I do like shop updates like that. And it's also nice when I do have a themed update to have some products that are not part of the theme. Like this time I had some stickers that were not Halloween Cats or Floral Cats and some prints, so that was nice. But yeah, I do love the idea of shop updates where it's just like miscellaneous items. It's also a great way to turn artwork into random products, like, oh, I like this drawing I did, let's make it a sticker and a print. It doesn't really work for washi and other stuff, but it's just great as little individual one-off kind of things. And if I do release more products later this year, that's probably what it will be, is not a collection, but just an amalgamation of miscellaneous things. I do have a couple ideas for collections I would like to do, but I'm going to save those for next year. Now, Biamda asks, how do you delegate paying yourself and Christian a worthy salary? Does it depend each month based on sales or each big shop update or something set on a regular basis? I think I said this earlier, but it's just like we get a yearly salary and then it's divvied up, like divide that by 12 and we get paid that amount monthly. So not based on sales or performance of the shop or anything like that. Also, would love to know more about the software and how everything goes from when someone buys something to end up at their home, programs, postage, etc. So setting up the shop is all set up in Shopify. That's where I'm adding the product listings and setting up shipping zones, things like that. And then I use ShipStation when I'm actually packing the orders to go out. So ShipStation is where I'm weighing the packages and putting in the size of the box, and I'm purchasing the labels from there, even though like I'm technically purchasing them from my Commercial Canada Post account, but my Canada Post account is linked to my ShipStation and is linked to my Shopify. And that's how the postage rates are synchronized, because it's charging the customers at checkout based on my commercial rates, and then when I go to buy the postage in ShipStation, it's based on my commercial rates, because different people get different rates with Canada Post depending on your contract and your shipping volume. The more you ship, the better rates you can negotiate. And the rates I have with Canada Post are cheaper than the rates offered by Shopify or ShipStation, because you can buy labels directly from either of those places, but my rates are better than those, so that's why I use my own Canada Post account. And then in terms of mail pickups, I book those through the Canada Post website, so I have recurring pickups every Monday and Thursday, and then during a big shop update, I add extra ones to fill in the rest of the days of the week. So that's done on the Canada Post website, just my dashboard for my commercial account with them. And that's really all I use for like that part of the business. I guess for digital downloads, I'm using an app through Shopify called Fetch app. So when I upload digital downloads, that goes there. But other than that, it's really all Shopify, ShipStation, Canada Post. So Shopify and ShipStation are technically websites. They're not software on your computer, but ShipStation does make you download ShipStation Connect, which is a software that links to your printers and scales, and that's how it gets the information for the order and how it prints the labels, whatever. And then the Canada Post website is also just a website. So none of those are really software on your computer, except ShipStation Connect. Jenny Ha says, in one of your vlogs, you said you didn't want to sell Kiki and Midna merch separately because you didn't like the idea of Kiki merch selling better than Midna merch. Gotta love both the kitties the same, of course. But in this shop update, I saw that Kiki and Midna stickers were sold separately rather than in a set. I'm curious if there's a reason why you changed your mind. I just straight up forgot. So like with the magnets, they were sold as a set for that reason, because you know, you see Kiki more in the vlogs, like she's more of a vlog mascot than Midna is. So I was like, oh, I'd feel so bad like having the Kiki stuff sell way better. Plus it's easier for me if I'm just ordering the same quantities of both. So that's why the magnets were a set. And originally the stickers were also going to be a set of 2, Kiki and Midna, but then I ended up having so many sticker designs that I just kind of forgot about that, and I ended up making a bundle that has all the Halloween-y ones together. And so the idea of having them as a pair slipped my mind, and they got sold individually, but they sold relatively evenly. Kiki was still more popular, but I was surprised at how well the Midna sticker kept pace with the Kiki one. Katie McCary says, would you consider selling your embroidery files for personal use once you retire them? No. I just want to hoard my designs for myself, because I feel like what separates my shop from someone else's is that these are all things designed by me. Because a lot of small business shops I see and follow online, they buy their designs off of Etsy or wherever, and so a lot of shops are using the same designs, whereas mine are like designed by me. I'm the only place that has these exact designs. Like sure, other people do Luna Moth, other people do Strawberry, but if you want my specific interpretations of them, you'd have to get them from my shop. And so I don't really like the idea of mine being distributed and sold by anybody. Like it could be an interesting way to make more revenue, but I don't know. That's also part of the reason why I don't do wholesale in general. Like I've thought about it. I do wholesale for my shopping bags because I have so many of them, but I just have this attachment to my products and my art, and I don't really want to release them to the public. I guess I just want my designs to be more exclusive. I don't want them to be something that everybody's got in their shop. Starlit Stallion says, you have a work ethic that's absolutely mind-blowing, and all of us could only say wow about. Watching your vlogs, it's mind-boggling how many balls you keep in the air, from designing to making sure your products are the top quality that they are, and so much more. First things first, a big old tip of the head, because more often than not, we see you with a big smile that is able to brighten many of our days. My question is, how do you maintain such an incredible work ethic mindfully, and then in brackets, mental health-wise? I think the biggest factor is that I am my own boss. Like that's just the biggest mental health boost, because like everything I'm doing is benefiting my own bottom line. And just that in itself is so much motivation to do everything that I do. Plus I can set my own schedules. I can design what products I want to design. And usually there's enough flexibility in my schedule where it's like, okay, if I don't want to specifically work on this today, I can work on it tomorrow or the next day, and I'll do something else today. I have that freedom, and so I can just move things around. Plus, what I do is not really hard work. I put in a lot of hours, so I work hard in that sense. I like to say to myself, I work hard, but it's not hard work. I show up, I put in the time, but it's not physically demanding. It's not really mentally demanding. A lot of the stuff I do, I can just throw on YouTube videos or Netflix or something and do what I need to do. It's pretty easy and stress-free for the most part. So I would say that's why. That's just the nature of what it is. I think we're getting close to stream time. Stream starts in 19 minutes and I haven't even set up for it. Okay. Okay. We don't have any questions left. Let's go. Miss E asks, what do you consider an acceptable cost when purchasing new product? For example, you've said the sketchbooks are your highest cost. Were you intimidated by it at first? So luckily I'm at the point in the business where I've got enough capital that I can buy most of the things I want. And usually what's limiting me from buying super crazy quantities and amounts, like dollar amounts, is because I don't want to buy more than what I can sell. So that helps. But usually I'm just looking at like, okay, if I bought this product for that much and I marked it up 3 times, how much would that cost? Do I think that's a reasonable selling price for that product? And if not, I'll try to find a different supplier, or maybe I just won't do that product. Like, it has to be something that I feel I could sell for a decent price. And that's more the way I think of the price. I'm not looking at necessarily how much total am I spending. Like, oh, this is a $3,000 sticker order. I'm not willing to spend that much on stickers. It's not really that. It's more like the cost per sticker. Is that where I want it? Yes. Okay, then I'm buying them. And then for something like the sketchbooks, that was definitely intimidating the first time because that was the most I'd ever spent on any kind of product. Because that's like a big purchase. For example, this last sketchbook purchase, it cost me $45,000 just for the books, and then there was also the shipping fee, the inspection fee, and then the customs duty fees. So definitely over $50,000 by the end of it. The first sketchbook order was not that big, but still, it was probably like half of that, which is still a good chunk of change for an order. So that was definitely nerve-wracking, but I just... I just believed I could sell them, I guess, because I was confident in the product, because I'm like, these embroidered sketchbooks are just so cute. It's a neat idea. And I had 2,000 total, my first order. So maybe it was a little higher than the estimate I just told you, because this order was 3,000. That order was 2,000. Anyway, so maybe close to like a $30,000 purchase. So yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking. But I don't know. I was confident at the same time. My biggest fear was that it would get lost at sea or something. The shipping container falls off a boat and ends up at the bottom of the ocean. Like, I think that was my biggest fear. But it's not like I'm spending that kind of money on every product I get. Like, stickers are cheap, prints are cheap, washi's cheap, enamel pins are pretty cheap. So it's not like I'm risking that money for every product I get. But there was a bit of nervousness with the first sketchbook order. Jai asked, do you regret doing anything, either product, amount of product, or do you wish you did anything differently? First thing that comes to mind, obviously the shopping bags. It was minimum order quantity 3,000 per design. I wish I had either tried to negotiate a smaller minimum order quantity. Like, a minimum is a minimum, but I kind of wish I would have negotiated, or just sought out a different manufacturer. But a big reason I moved forward with them is because they were a Canadian-based company, and I, for some reason, also thought that they were sewn in Canada, but turns out they're not. So they're really just a middleman. So yeah, in hindsight, I wish I went with someone else. Although they have since agreed to do lower quantities. I was like, the absolute most I could order per design is 1,000. And they're like, okay, if you do 4 designs, we'll let you do 1,000. And I'm like, where was this deal before? Like, ugh. Maybe I could have tried negotiating before, but I feel like you have less negotiating power when you're a first-time customer versus a returning customer. Because I've sold a lot of bags. Like, I think I've sold over 1,000 of them per design. Maybe not Sassy Santa, but for the rest, at least I've sold over 1,000, which is really good compared to my usual numbers for other products. But there's 3,000 of each, so I still have so many left. And then also, there's washi back here. So there was an issue one time. I was ordering some Christmassy washi. I did Winter Buns and Sassy Santa, and I did 500 Sassy Santa, 1,000 Winter Buns. So 1,000 is already a lot. And then they messaged me saying they accidentally made my order twice and asked if I'd be willing to purchase the leftovers. And I said yes, because one, they offered me 30% off for the leftovers. They sadly wouldn't move any lower than that. I tried. But also I just didn't want the washi being sold elsewhere, because I was like, what are they going to do with this extra washi if I don't take it? Like, is it going to end up on AliExpress? What's going to happen to it? So I bought the inventory, but I still have so much of it left. I sold all the original stock, but not the bonus stock. So I'm like, maybe I should have just declined it and let those washis end up wherever they ended up. And it might be time to put them on clearance. I try to not mark down old product, but sometimes I need to if I just have too much of it. And so that washi might be getting marked down for the Christmas season this year. I also ordered too much of the Little Duckies planner pads. I had ordered 1,000 of the planner pads. That was like the last time I did 1,000 planner pads, and it was too much. But everything else I think is pretty okay at the moment. Like, I've had some things take a really long time to sell, but they finally have sold or are about to sell out. So that's good. Blue Boy asks, which product from this launch surprised you the most sales-wise? For example, something you expected to stick around for a while but sold quicker than you expected. I would have to say the apparel, because I knew things like the bundles would go quickly, the mystery bags would go quickly, because there weren't that many of them to begin with. But yeah, the apparel I thought would actually last, especially since I have 3 different apparel items. And looking back at the Ducky and Bunny t-shirt launch that happened in the summer, like, I didn't sell that. Like, I sold quite a good amount of them, but I still have a lot left. And so I was like, oh, I need to tone it down a little bit for this next t-shirts I do. But then those t-shirts sold way too fast, and so I'm making more. But yeah, the apparel in general, it was surprising how quickly it went. And the last question, Gustav asks, have you thought about having different freebie tiers? For example, every order gets a freebie sticker, orders above $100 gets you a sticker and a magnet, and so on. It could encourage people to round up their orders and reward loyal customers. I haven't really considered doing that, because every order already gets a freebie print and a freebie sticker. I feel like that's already decently generous, because like Amazon doesn't give you freebies. But also, in terms of it being an incentive for people to place a larger order, I already have that, because I do free shipping on orders over $100, and if you're international, it's flat rate 25 shipping. So I've got the incentive already. The incentive is you save a bunch of money. It's what the incentive is. And so I don't feel like I need to offer more on top of that, especially since I do take a pretty big hit on those orders that get the free shipping. I don't feel like I need to offer even more on top of that. I feel like that's already a pretty generous offer. And that is everything from this Q&A. I hope it was interesting, and I hope you're okay with having this instead of a vlog, considering I was away. And I gotta get going. I gotta start my live stream. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.